The member for Port Adelaide.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. The government is now in its 5th year of office. In that time, 7 coal-fired power stations have closed, removing capacity equivalent to nearly 6 million households' power, or more than enough energy to power every home in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. After 7 power station closures, why has the Prime Minister only discovered that energy supply is a problem now?
The Minister for Energy and the Environment.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, the member for Port Adelaide has some hide, Mr Speaker. He has some hide, because he comes from a party that supported the following motion in the Parliament, in the Senate, on the 22nd of March this year, Mr Speaker. It said, coal is in structural decline and has no long-term future in Australia, Mr Speaker. That is the words of the Labor opposition. Now, Mr Speaker, the member for Port Adelaide also said to the Press Club in April of last year, Labor will introduce a framework to kick-start the closure of coal-fired power stations, Mr Speaker, and at numerous other times have made it very clear that Labor is selling out blue-collar workers in order to win Green votes in the city, Mr Speaker. That is what has happened, and as a result, in the state of South Australia, where the Northern Power Station closed, we saw energy prices dramatically increase, and we also saw the people in his own electorate have blackouts and higher electricity prices. And the Labor colleagues in Victoria and the Leader of the Opposition should know better, that it was the Labor Party that described the continued operation of Hazelwood as, quote, disgraceful, Mr Speaker. That is what the Labor Party has said about the continued operation of Hazelwood. And the Victorian members on this side know all too well that it was the Andrews government that increased coal royalties on those coal-fired generators in the Latrobe Valley by 300%, Mr Speaker. 300%. And we know that Engie, the owner, with Mitsui of Hazelwood, said that this had caused them problems, Mr Speaker. So it was the Labor Party. It was the Labor Party in South Australia, the Labor Party in Victoria that were responsible for the closure of coal-fired power stations. And now it's the Labor Party and the member for Shortland who won't stand up for the workers in his own electorate. And the member for Hunter, happy to box on in front of the press gallery, but he's very sheepish in the Parliament, Mr Speaker. Happy to say one thing to the Newcastle Herald, Mr Speaker, and happy to say another thing to the press gallery, Mr Speaker, because it's the members for Shortland, the members for Hunter, the members for Newcastle, the members for Herbert, Mr Speaker, and the Leader of the Opposition, who have sold out their blue-collar base, who have walked away from the party of Chifley, have walked away from the party of Hawke and have decided to join the party of Bob Brown, Mr Speaker, and Richard Di Natale, Mr Speaker. It's the Labor-Greens alliance that the blue-collar workers and the families of Australia have to be aware of, because that is a recipe for...
The member for